out of the rectangle class, we have an object. The actual object is the rectangle. The variable is a reference to the object. So just what we do is, let's put this out. So this is how you do a variable declaration. Right. So in Java, what we do is we say rectangle. So we say the class of the object. We say the name. So the variable is like a little name we used to refer to it. So the name was box, and then I assign it. So in computer science, you always use equal to assign something. Like 5 equals 5 is not correct. You have to say 5 equals 5.
Like the div, whatever div means.
Oh, kind of. So basically, yes, we have, once again, so box, or rather, this rectangle here is an object of the rectangle class, and we store it inside the variable box. Did you guys get that so far? I'm gonna say that like 10 times, since on our test today we have a bunch of questions like this, and I want you guys to make sure you get this. This is how you do an assignment. You all good? So, 1 second. Now, right. So, if you guys can look this over here, we'll go over some example classes at the end of this, so I can just show you guys a little bit more. So objects are stored inside variables. It's a reference back to the object. So then, once you have an object, you're going to want it to do something. That's what would be the point of an object. So we can call methods on an object. So basically what a method is you tell the object to do something. Like for example, here. So I can say, this is the syntax. So for Java, it's variable name dot method name. Then you have an open parenthesis, a closed parenthesis, and you have a semicolon. So this method, for example, is called grow. Basically what it does, it tells the rectangle stored inside the variable box to grow. So how much do you want it to grow? So we have to put, yeah, sure. So 5 in height and 5 in width. Height. So then basically what we do is we do grow. So we don't want it to get any wider. We just want it to get taller. So we do something like this. So inside the parentheses, these are called parameters. So parameters are input you pass into the method. So right now I'm telling the object box grow. How much you want to grow? It's always width. So if you have multiple inputs, you separate them with a comma. But so I want it to grow 0 pixels width. I want it to go 5 pixels height. Does that make sense as well? So then, for example, there's some things that don't need any inputs. For example, these are like, for example, box.draw. This one actually shows the box on the screen. So like that doesn't actually require any inputs because you're just telling it to show up. Does that make sense so far as well? Cool. Now, okay, so one more thing. So do you guys like get what I'm saying so far? Everyone good? Great. Now I'm gonna go over a few more classes. Normally I'd have you guys type this up with me, but I don't have that much time today, so sorry about that. So if you'll notice over here, we have these two statements over here. So the first one is int days equals 365 semicolon. So once again, so we're making an object of the int class. Technically integers are in the class, but I don't care enough about that right now. And we're calling it days, and we're assigning it to a variable of 360, to a value of 365. And also in Java, whenever you're done with anything, you always put a semicolon at the ending, telling it the line is done. Because or else, for example, you had a really narrow window and it went over to the next line, your computer might get really screwed up. So, does that make sense so far? Great. So then, now, once we have this assignment right here, now we don't have to say int in front of it every time. So now we can say days, so on a leap year, how many days are in a leap year? And isn't that hard a question? 366, there we go. So 366. Does that make sense? So now, so when we're creating the object in the constructor, we have to put the class in front of it. Once we've created it, we don't have to do that anymore. We good? Great. So also, when you're making your variable names, please just make them like text. Don't try and put spaces or numbers or weird stuff in there. I go into the full rules about that, but once again, we're a little pressed for time today. So, yeah, oh, well, Rich. So then another class we're going to go to is the string class. Actually, I made a mistake here. But, so the string class, we use strings are the programming term for text. So we do, for example, string, what's a good name for a string? Sure. So string Bob, and what do you want Bob to be equal to? 4. Okay, right. So does this make sense? 4. So, oh wait, that looks like an exclamation point. I'm sorry. But yeah, does this make sense? So we made an object of the string class. We called it Bob, and we assigned it the value. Here, can I actually, let me do something that's like high, let's choose high. But you'll notice that in Java, whenever you're using text, your text has to be inside of quotation marks. So, is that true in most other programming languages? I'm pretty sure it's most. Okay, right. So then, do you guys get how a string assignment works as well? We all good? Awesome. So, here, right. That should be mostly most of the basics we've covered so far. So now we're going to do a few examples of it so you guys can do a little bit of practice. So, right, so if you can go to our website, nighthackers.org. You'll notice that not this week on October 3rd, but on September 23rd, I'm going to go over one class with you guys I didn't go over today, called the data class. And I want you guys to just understand how it works. So go to the second link over here and open it up. Right, so now we're going to work on a class called the days class. So the days class makes a day. So, if we wanted to make an object day class, we do day. Notice that I use a capital D over here. You actually have to, depending on the class name, it actually does make a difference, because there's actually another class called lowercase d, so you actually have to be specific. So day, what's a good name for a day that isn't a people minute? Normal anniversary? Anyone know how to spell that?
Holiday. A-N-N-I-V-E-R-S-A-R-Y.
I'm going to do holiday. So day, holiday.
Is that even right?
Yeah.
Yes. I think it's
Right. So notice this statement over here. This class is actually on your test, so you want to pay attention. It's a special class. So it says day, holiday. Can you guys read this from back there? Ah. Here we go. So day, holiday equals. Oh, I know. So I have a special construction for this class. That's why I want to do. So, no, you can't go. So, so we're making an object of the day class. We're storing it inside the variable holiday. And you'll notice here in the constructor, we have to put in some inputs. So we're saying,
will Ryan Mosen please come to the front of the school? Ryan Mosen to the front of the school.
Right, so this is the year, this is the month, and this is the day. So that's what ours always is, year, month, day. We don't do it normal, we don't do like the normal way. So then, here, if you guys, can you guys open up that link and make a new statement called day, make a variable of class day called birthday and assign it to your birthday? Can you guys do that now? Open up the link and do it. When you guys go to the Hackers September 23rd post, if you open up the second link, it'll take you to the page we're on. Third one? It's the one next to days. The one that has days in front of it.
And class boxes. Class boxes. If you close one. First one, then.
Yeah, like math problems. I will go down as opposed to going left to right, down to right. I would go all the way down the other side. It goes for
Right, so just assign it to your birthday, and yeah, that's what we're going to do first. Okay, so then I just want you guys to actually have a little bit of practice. So did everyone assign it to their birthday?
Do you still want me to record?
Keep going, yeah. So then, yeah, you can cut out anything that's not important. So then can you guys also here, two objects in the day class, one called birthday with the date of your birthday, and one called holiday with this day over here. Can you guys do that? Okay, yeah, so remember, here, let me actually fix what I would do. Please don't use this knowledge.
Don't use the day birthday equals new day knowledge?
What?
What knowledge shouldn't we use?
My birthday. I don't
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Armand. I was trying to be inconspicuous.
Sorry.
well, that's not happening.
Right. So then you guys will. So yeah, just replace it with your actual birthday. Yeah.
No.
Right. So then, if there's two lines that have like a print statement in there. Can you guys just delete those since we actually have to do that? So now I'm going to show you guys just a review of how to assign something to. One more thing quick before I forget to say this. If it's an int, it must be an integer. If you try to put 25.4 inside an integer, your computer will get very mad at you. So don't. So if it's going to be a decimal, make sure you use double instead of integer. So
The compiler will do it automatically if you're using it as a literal.
okay, yeah. So let's see. So you'd use double.
In fact, if you're doing calculations and you have literals in the calculation, and you're doing doubles, you need to put a .0 behind it to make sure that the compiler treats it as a double in that name.
So if you guys see the statement over here, so instead of using int, we use double because once again, it's a decimal. Please remember that one of your calculations today involves a decimal, and make sure you use double. That's one of the easiest mistakes. So then, however, so for here, if I wanted to calculate the number of days between these two days, would I use an int or a double? Yes, because why would you want? I didn't put like the time, so I can't have like half a day. I can't have a fourth of a day. That'd be weird. If I do int days. Okay, so then this one has a little bit of weird syntax. So use the day that's most in the future. So I'm assuming all of you have been born already. We're going to do holiday dot days from guys. So right, so I made an int. We called it days, and I assigned it to the variable of the returning value of the method days from. So basically, days from takes this date and kind of subtracts this date from it. So you have to use the day that's more in the future, and then put the one that's in the past as the parameter. Makes sense? So it's the day in the past dot method name parentheses input and then semicolon. Makes sense?
So day is an object,
It's days.
and holiday is an instance of that object.
Yes.
And then you're taking
No. Day is a class.
It's a class.
And holiday is a variable.
day is a class and holiday is a variable.
Yes.
An integer days, you're setting up a variable of the type integer.
No, integer isn't a class. Actually, it's a primitive type of days. Yeah, so let's pretend it's like that. It's simple to conceptualize. Okay, so right. So then I want you guys to print out the day. Print out the number of days between those two. And don't come and do that out. Here, I'll just print or print out. So one more thing. So there's two types of there's two main types of print statements. First is dot print. Dot print will not add an enter at the end. So if you have two dot print statements right after each other, the results will be stuck right onto each other. However, if you have print ln, then it will actually add an enter at the end. So you'll have multiple lines. Generally, for a lot of things, you want to use ln, but you don't want all of your answers to be smushed up in one line. You can't tell which one is which. So then if we do system out that print ln, So remember it's int days, then system.out.println, and then if we want to refer to this, we don't have to put the int once again. We just put the days in here, and whichever inside the parentheses here gets printed out. So one more thing, why didn't I use quotes here?
Because you don't want it to display the word days.
Exactly. So right now, this is a reference to this number. I don't want it to actually print out the word days. So make sure if you're using text, you use quotation marks. However, if you're referring to a string, like if I said string something equals something, you can actually use the name of the string. Only when it's literal, like Mr. Corrigan was saying, you have to have the quotation marks. So, yeah. So this one has a little bit of a special syntax if you notice. But if you want to think of it, think of system.out as the object, println as the method, and days as the input. So, yeah.
You said think of, so is that not actually accurate?
It's a little bit different. So, okay, yeah, so I'm just going to come around and check if all of you guys got it, and then we'll do one more thing, then we can start our learning process.
I've only been alive for 5,764 days. That's a bit
That
stressing.
is the number of days.
That's a bit distressing to me.
one more special class before we start. It's the math class. So the math class is a little bit different. So where did my pen go? Where did my pen go? Where did my pen go?
Five, six, six, six.
Does anyone see my green marker? Thank you. So awesome, Debbie. Now, okay. So,
Do you need this?
no, don't worry about it. Yeah, I'm not using the computer from here. So, right. So you'll notice we have 3 methods over here of the math class. So this is one thing you might want to pay attention for. So, Java does not round. Like, it rounds, we do integer division, so it always rounds down. So if you want it to round correctly, you must use the function math.round. That make sense? Yeah.
So if it's like 15.9,
If you did math.round of 15.9, you'd get 16.
but normally.
You'd get 15. So then,
When it's doing 2 ends, it just drops.
it's called truncation. So it just gets rid of everything after the decimal point. So basically, if you want to do normal actual rounding, you have to use math.round. Don't worry too much about this one; it's not that important. Then this one is the power function. So if I wanted to do
You don't want
3, 2, yes.
to teach them absolute value?
Don't worry, I'll be fine. That's not as important. So I wanted to do 3 to the 5th, but it's 243. So I do math.pow 3,
You
comma.
make the dot bigger, it's kind of hard to see.
Oh yeah, you're probably right.
All of these things, there's a math and then a dot, whatever.
So it's A. So yeah, this is in math.pow 3, Can you guys see that a little bit better? So I'm saying take this number to this power. Also, just word of caution, even though unless you do a really weird fractional power, you're most likely going to end up with an integer, this returns a double. So make sure that you always save this inside a double. So I'd say double something equals this. So make sure you don't use an int for that, because that's going to screw you over. So, right. So then Armand wanted me to go over the absolute value thing. So for that, this is my favorite Java connect. Math.abs. And then, yeah. So then whatever is inside here, they take the absolute value of it. So one of your questions today actually does require it, but if you don't recognize that it requires it, I'll be completely fine, since it's actually really tricky.
And can you also say what a double is?
Oh yeah, so
again?
once again, a double is a decimal. An int is an integer, a double is a decimal. Actually, it's a little bit different, but yeah.
Why is it called a double?
I have double precision.
It uses 2 bytes.
Got it. So yeah, it uses 2 bytes. There we go.
I should say it uses 2 ends.
Okay, right. So just one more thing. One more thing I want to cover right before we start. We're going to start right after this. Notice I can do calculations inside of this. So I can have math.absolute value or math. Something else inside of a math.power. Does that make sense? You can always do things inside of it. And use a comma, separate inputs,
And it's always going to take the precedence. It's going to do multiplication and division
so
before
it's
it does.
order of operations.
Yeah. And so, my opinion, I use brackets everywhere, so that it absolutely evaluates the expression the way I want it to be evaluated, not based on order of precedence.
One of the questions today, you have to be very careful about your absolute values, whether you're parentheses or absolute. Also, just one more thing, I just want to make this clear since this actually confused me a lot. Java does not understand that this equals 25. You cannot take, it does not understand that two expressions set parentheses, but next to each other it means multiply. So you have to use a little asterisk symbol to multiply 2 things in Java. Use the little star thing.
Yeah.
So use the slash divide, minus, plus, you should know those here. So, okay.
The other one, everyone should always remember, if you're ever using a literal, like if you want to do 1/3, like 1 divided by 3, it'll come out to be 0. I swear to God. If you do 1.0 divided by 3.0, it comes out to 0.333333.
Exactly.
So always put literals, always make them, add a .0 or something at the end. That way the compiler interprets it as a double, not an integer.
Yeah, because then see, because there's specifically a job called integer division. Like I said, always rounds down. So 1/3 or 1 over anything that's greater than 1 will be always 0. It always rounds down. Even if you're 0.9 repeated, it'll still round down. So that's why Mr. Corrigan was saying, if you want to add a .0, so 15.0 is a double. So then, yes. So you're saying we did. So can you come up here and write it?
By the way, I found what I was referring to, physical address extension.
Oh, is that what it's called?
Yes,
Yeah, I've never,
it's, oh, okay.
never tried. Maybe it works.
So you want to do that, do 5 times 5 asterisk times 1/3.0.
Parentheses?
Yeah, you don't have to, but I did. It's nicer this way. I like looking at it though. Okay, so
So if we don't put parentheses, it works anyway.
yes, it should because M comes before
Yes,
D.
because of PEMDAS.
Yes.